हेलो दोस्तों, मैं पूजा कौर। आप देख रहे हैं AIB न्यूज़, जिस पे है जनता का भरोसा। तो चलते हैं आज की खबर की तरफ।
Welcome everyone to our show 2030 का भारत. In our show, we mainly talk about the three pointers which are given to India, like about sustainable development goals. So we are focusing on three goals, that is no poverty, no hunger, and quality education. And to talk about these goals, today we have with us Ricky Andrew. He is an Indian politician, member of 18th Lok Sabha representing the Shillong constituency. Is from Voice of the People Party. Really welcome you, sir, and thank you for providing
Thank
your
you.
valuable time here. Okay, so my first question to you is, where do you see Shillong in 2030?
Well, I see Shillong as being restored as one of the educational hub of the Northeast.
Yeah.
Provided the government of the day take a very decisive decision.
Yeah.
And ensuring that whatever glory, the past glory that Shillong, had in terms of education, regains its glory. And
Yeah.
all is possible, provided you are focused, you have a vision, so that is what I see. But it has to
Okay.
start. It has to start today.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so one more question is rising in my mind that I have seen one report of Niti Aayog, and according to Niti Aayog, Bihar, Jharkhand, and Meghalaya remains the state with highest number of poor people. So, how will you work on this?
Yes. So, well, it's very true and it's very unfortunate. Meghalaya is one of the, one of the 10 states, small 10 states in the country.
Yeah.
And when you look at Meghalaya in terms of its factor endowments, it is a state which is sitting on top of wealth.
Yeah.
Okay, it's mineral resources or natural resources, even for that matter, human resource. So what it is, like I said, it is unfortunate that we are considered to be one of the poorest states, but I think that is a wake-up call for, for the political leadership to see what is wrong. I mean, it is impossible that, when you sit on top of wealth, but yet you are poor. So something is terribly wrong. And for me, I would say one of the major factor is that, of course, corruption is one of the major factor,
Correct.
and the slack on the part of the government of the day, and also it calls for the people of our state to
Yeah.
rise up, and we have gone right down. So there's no other way but to rise up. So I see hope in that. Yeah.
Okay, so we are just moving ahead, and I'll be talking about law and order over there. Like I have heard few, like I have heard in news channels, and I have also read papers about that. There is I mean, no rules and regulations about law and order. I think one leader of some party or some I mean, he was the leader, and he was brutally killed over there. And
No.
no,
But you're talking about those SDG, you're coming now to law and order.
no, I'm talking about law and order. That how will you just manage all these? You have a responsibility on your like shoulder, so you have to manage all these. Like I'm talking about that.
See, we are not in power, so I think that question would be best suited to the, to the party and to the government which is in power. Yes.
I
Yes.
understand that. I understand that. But what do you say about that? If like I'm talking about you, that if you will have to manage all these, then what rules
No,
you will impose and all?
You see, when you're talking about law and order, well, it is not what what the media people say about Meghalaya. Meghalaya is still
Hmm.
one of the most peaceful states in the country,
Hmm. Hmm.
except for stray incident. And
Hmm.
this is happening everywhere. In fact, I'm in Delhi right now, and such incident goes unreported. Many which are even worse than what is happening in the state.
Hmm.
So there's no doubt, yes, for any development, there has to be, peace and
Hmm.
tranquility must be there. But then, of
Yeah.
course, Meghalaya is not, is not bad at all in terms of law and order.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. I
It
mean,
is.
tourists are like always there, always there. I mean, I think 12 months tourists are there. So it's a
Yes,
very
yes.
beautiful place, but the thing is, it's about the rules and regulations, and sometimes it happens. Okay, you are correct. Then I'm moving to the situations of school in Shillong, particularly.
Mm.
What do you think that is there any need to just enhance the situations of school over there, or the
No,
schools are right at their place?
the schools are there, and in fact, like I said from the beginning, Meghalaya is used to be the educational hub of the
Hmm.
Northeast, and in fact, rather for
Hmm.
the eastern part of the country. And
Hmm.
so we have a very strong foundation. It
Okay.
is simply what is required immediately is to revamp the whole education system, to
Hmm.
to come up with a policy which is futuristic.
Hmm.
And when we talk about school, and it requires a total revamping, right from the primary to the lower primary, upper primary, and so on and so forth,
Yeah. Hmm.
and uh, and also to stop commercializing of
Hmm.
education. But once you
Correct.
start commercializing, then you have all these players, who don't care about education. All they
Yeah.
care is, to make money out of education, and for
Correct.
which it is a sector where a lot of people have used that sector to make money, but not to build, uh, to build a future for the people. So, and it requires a concerted effort on the part of
Hmm.
all stakeholders to ensure
Yeah.
that education is
Sir,
not, yeah,
definitely, sir,
is not being commercialized. Yes.
yes, sir, I completely agree with you that commercialization should be stopped, and then after only we will able to give quality education to the students. But as you said that Meghalaya has a strong foundation of education and known as the education hub in northeastern area. But if we talk about the school education or schools, there is an issue. I have read in some reports also that the attendance level of teachers and students as well, both are very low, around 40%, even less than 40%. So what are the issues? If it is known as the education hub, then why the attendance level is very low?
You see, that is the issue which I said, where it requires a concerted effort of one and all, starting
Hmm.
from, let's say, from the governments,
Hmm.
then the various private stakeholders,
Hmm.
to be serious when it comes to education. I mean,
Yeah.
that I mean, they should mean business in what they're doing, and ensuring that, the uh, infrastructure is properly in place.
Hmm.
Teachers are there maintaining whatever the ratio that is required. And so all
Hmm.
that is required, not just, for example, setting up school, but then with no infrastructure, or even when
Hmm.
you have infrastructure, as in the case of some government school, where they
Hmm.
have the infrastructure, but because of, the lack of, for example, I remember
Hmm.
in one of the government school where there are
Hmm.
more teachers than students,
Hmm.
whereas in a private school, there are more students than teachers. So
Right.
what I see is this, in some, for example, in some of the village, you may find 2, 3 schools. So it
Yeah.
would be much better. A solution would be to club all these schools together, and so that to ensure that it runs effectively and efficiently, and making full use of whatever the resource that they have. So that is a solution that I
Yeah.
see. Again, I repeat, where in some villages you find no schools, in some villages there are more than 2, 3 schools, both
Yeah.
government, then some private run, some mission run institution. So if that can be clubbed together, that would be good for, especially in the school and especially in the rural areas. Yes.
Yeah.
And to
So
stop, yeah, mushrooming of
as you
schools,
highlighted the
especially in the urban area. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you highlighted the point of government schools and private school here, you have compared both the schools. Like in government school, the number of students is less, the number of teachers are more. And in private school, it's completely opposite. So why people are not why people don't want to send their children to government school? Like, are the government schools not providing quality full education, or what are the problem? Why people don't want to send their children there?
Yeah, you just said it correctly. In the government institutions, some of the appointments, I would say, is questionable. That is where I said corruption. When I say corruption, it's not just corruption in monetary terms, but corruption, for example, as in the selection of quality teachers, teachers who are really dedicated, teachers who see that teaching is their calling, not
Yeah.
just, to get job,
Yeah.
So because teaching is one profession, just like, nurses or doctors, where there has to be a calling. Don't
Yeah.
take it as just for the sake of getting a job. So that is where some serious effort, some serious introspection needs to take place. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so when we talk about schools and when we talk about people, there is always one thing in mind that what kind of teachers are there in the school. So if we talk about the government school, there is always an examination for teachers to just teach in school. Like they have to give examination and then they have to enter the government school to teach the children. So when we talk about the private school, there is always a quality check that government school teachers are always in a degraded form. Like if I not about all government school, but if we talk about few government school, the teachers are not up to the mark. There's always a question in their face that how they will teach students, and I have seen various videos. I'm not talking about simply of Shillong or Meghalaya. I'm talking about whole India. I've seen videos where teachers are not able to spell the spelling of apple. So it's a big question about the government teachers and how they are teaching students and how the government is appointing them to teach the children. So how will India work on this point? So I'm like it's a little bit a worried point over here that how will India just gain the marks in government school criteria?
See, that is where, this is a problem, I think, not just in the state of Meghalaya, across,
Yeah, across
across the
India.
nation.
Hmm.
Yes, and so some mechanism has to be devised to really ensure and to check that the teachers
Hmm.
are appointed through through the right process,
Yeah.
and but at the same time, what I see is that you know we should ensure that whenever policy is is being adopted or policy is contemplated, I
Hmm.
think we must ensure that in a country like India, which is so diverse,
Hmm.
okay, so there is a diversity, for example, across the
Yeah.
country. And so keeping in mind that diversity, I think some, uh, we must ensure that, uh, for example, Northeast, there's a lot of
Yeah.
diversity compared to the rest of India. So
Mhm.
keeping all that in mind,
Yeah.
policy has to be framed in such a manner that you give freedom, you give the liberty to the different region or different state to come up with their own policy. Uh,
Correct.
Even, for example, in selection of teachers, for example, in a state like Meghalaya, where
Mhm.
when we have, like, for example, the JNV school, right?
Yeah.
So where you have teachers who do not even know the language of the state. So it
Yeah.
would be good if you appoint teachers who know also the language of the state, who know the culture of the state, so that
Correct.
when they stand before the children, at
Hmm.
least they know the background, they know the culture. So,
Correct.
and connecting with the students would be much easier than,
Yeah.
sending someone who has no idea about the culture,
Hmm.
the cultural values of the state. So,
Mhm.
I mean, those are some things that need to be looked into. So, any kind of uniformity especially in a country like India, is not
Yeah.
good. So, or in other words, centralization that we are seeing today, this move
Mhm.
towards centralization of everything, this is going to be
Correct.
devastating for the future,
Yeah.
be it in education, be it in many sector.
Correct. Correct.
So, especially in the
Okay.
field of education, yes.
One more and last question to you, sir, because we have to end it early. Last question is, I have read an article that migration in Meghalaya is the cause of degradation. Do you agree with this point? Like people
Migration of
are
what?
degradation of development. If we talk about particularly Meghalaya, people from Bihar, people from Jharkhand, people from West Bengal are there. They are migrating from their own state and they are just living in Meghalaya. And due to this, the employment criteria, or we can say the real, the core Meghalaya is losing its presence. I have read an article.
And for that reason, that is why, as a party, we want that we're going to fight for this, the inner line permit, to
Hmm.
ensure that people from outside the state do not come and take over jobs which our people could take up. Well,
Hmm.
of course, we cannot, in a country like India,
Hmm.
well, we cannot
Yeah.
prevent people from coming, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, in a state like ours, which is small, where we have even in terms of population, so I
Yeah.
think the interests of our people should come first. But
Correct.
again, mechanism has to be worked out, and one such mechanism is the inner line permit to prevent people coming. Of course, they're most welcome to come as tourists,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, which is we are more than happy to have them. But then
Hmm.
to come as workers, that has to be, to be checked.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Should be in limited form, I
where
guess.
where will
Right?
our people go? So,
Correct.
but of course, there are areas where we do need, people with skills when we don't have them. But then I
Mm-hmm.
think in the right approach would be to ensure
Hmm.
that our people are not, um, they have their fair share of of employment in our
Yeah.
state, and to ensure that people from outside the states, are checked. They can come,
Yeah.
maybe as tourists, but
Hmm.
and not to take up those, jobs which our people could do it. Yes.
Correct.
So what
For
Correct.
me,
you see, because yeah, in other
yeah.
states, the wages are very, very low. So when they
Hmm.
come there, at least they get a better wage.
Yeah.
So that is why. So they really put our people in the back foot, and that
Hmm.
has to be, has to be stopped.
That
Okay, sir,
means
thank you so much. Like you spoke very well about the sustainable development goals, and you did spoke very well about the Shillong and Meghalaya, that how the state will get developed. And of course, the Shillong is a very beautiful place, and you also told that the tourists are always there. And I think what you spoke about, that how will be Shillong in 2030, I think this will be fulfilled, and I think you will contribute to this also. So very thankful to you for providing this time, and
Yeah,
I think Shillong will be the most beautiful place in 2030, and you will be contributing to it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir,
thank
for
you,
your
thank
valuable
you,
time.
thank you,
Thank
we
you.
thank
are
you,
vastly
thank you.
grateful that you gave us a time.